What is up, coach? Welcome to another edition of Build with the CEO. My name is Trevor. I'm your resident CEO with Coach Catalyst, and I am excited to be here with you on this beautiful Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Now, this month has been all about workouts. Okay, so week one was about assessments. Last week I talked about like structure and systems, and so building those pieces like your exercise database, your block database, your workout database, and ultimately your phase database. That helps save you a lot of time. It helped us at our facility take 30 to 60-minute program design to 5 to 10 minutes, right? So massive increase in efficiency. And so this week I'm going to talk all about implementation and really implementation inside the brick and mortar facility. So offline, working with people in person. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about the virtual world or a hybrid coaching experience where you're not seeing that client on a day-to-day basis. But today is all about brick and mortar. And I'm going to use my facility functional fitness as the example because we went through the gamut of programming where we used to be pen and paper. We were designing in Excel and in Google Sheets and kind of had some cool kind of Google Sheet things built out. But ultimately, it was a pain because we had to build it in Google Sheets and we had to print it. Then we had to put it in the client's binder. And then if they did an exercise again, like 6 months later, we really had no idea what they did last time. And so we were trying to figure it out on the fly the entire time. Eventually, we moved to a digital platform, and then once Coach Catalyst built workouts inside of it, we moved everything into Coach Catalyst because that is our client experience platform. So we wanted it all there. And honestly, we didn't want the super fancy workout builder. My biggest gripe with most workout builders is it takes forever to design workouts because you have to pick all of these variables, right? You have to pick RPE and rest and all of these things. And for the vast majority of people, like workouts aren't that dialed in, right? Like most brand new people have no idea what RPE even means, or even what an RPE of 8, like how to even achieve that in a particular exercise, right? And so for us, we work with general population, typically a 50 plus population. With us, we just want to know, hey, are we progressing in exercise throughout a 6 week cycle? Right? Are we getting stronger with different exercises throughout the cycle? And if we're checking that box, like I'm good. I don't need to see volume lifted over the week and all these fancy vanity metrics that no one looks at. Right? I want to see, like, are we using basic principles of progressive overload? Right? Really, that's it. And I can easily see that by looking at someone's history. And then for us, when we program the goblet squat again, in 12 weeks, I want the client to easily be able to look at their history and say, hey, what did they do? And really not even necessarily client, the coach. So we're going to talk all about implementation. So today I'm going to take you from like the assessment to the first couple sessions to then running a session with, let's say, 6 people in it and how we do that efficiently inside of our facility. So I talked a little bit about the assessment process in week one, but let's review some of that. So we've created a form inside of Coach Catalyst that the coach fills out. We assign that form to the client, but then the coach fills it out when they're assessing that client. Okay, so they're going to take them through kind of a modified functional movement screen, some basic orthopedic tests, and they're going to essentially get a report for that client. Here are the things they do well. Here's the things they struggle with. Here's some things we need to work on. All right, here's exercises to stay away from. And then they take in all the information from like their health history too. Maybe there's some contraindications around orthopedic injuries or surgeries or medications or things that we just need to be aware of. So the coach essentially creates a report and puts that report inside the client vault. Okay. So they put that report in the client vault. So now any coach that has is going to work with that client can check the vault, see the really the Spark Notes version of that client's assessment, or really the key items, the important metrics of that client's assessment, and come up to speed really quickly with that client. So yeah, there is a little bit of manual labor inside of this process, right? But then it makes it easy because it's stored in one place. Every coach has access to it, and typically for, or I shouldn't say not all the time for us, the same. We try to have the same coach assess the client, but that isn't always possible. So sometimes another coach is assessing the client and then passing off that client to to another coach to actually work with them. And so this kind of trade-off of information is really important. We used to use pieces of paper and it would get lost and like, where is it? And so we decided to digitize it. And that was a great move for us. So our model in our facility is what I call a 6-to-1 model, small group personal training. And I firmly believe small group personal training is the most efficient training model, both for the client, because you can offer a lower price point compared to personal training, and also for the facility, because we can create more revenue per hour, right? We can create density within the day. And our facility, we don't want our coaches to coach 8 hours a day. They just don't have the capacity. Very few people have the emotional capacity to coach 8 hours a day, every day, 5 days a week for 40 years. It just doesn't work that way. We don't have that much in the tank emotionally to be able to coach that well. We found that most coaches do really well at about 5 hours a week, and they can sustain that long term. So it's about 25 hours a week as far as coaching goes. You can do that long term, right? Because you have plenty of time to recharge and do other things. And especially if you have like 2 hours and then maybe a 1 hour break and then another 3 hours, it's a very sustainable process for a coach. So that's what we look at our facilities. So our programming is 6-to-1, meaning 6 clients could come into the facility, all in different stages of life, all with different health histories. We could have an athlete next to a grandma, right? All in the same session, but each person has an individualized program, which is based upon the templates and the phases that we've created that I talked about in the last episode. So if all of this sounds really foreign to you, go back and listen to last episode, and that will give you some insight into how we start designing some of this stuff. And here's one thing to note too. I had a few people like send in some questions around like, hey, I find this really daunting or that really daunting. Like this is a system and a process, and there's going to be some hard work involved, and you're going to have to sit down and spend a few hours figuring things out, right? But anytime we're developing systems, you can think, I'm putting in 2 hours now to save 50 hours later. And that just continues to compound over and over and over and over and over again. So yes, you're going to need to put in some time early on, right? You're going to have to put in some effort early on, right? But that's going to save you exponential amounts of time down the road, because once you build it, and if we build it right, it will continue to pay us over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for the lifetime of it. So it's worth the effort, putting in that effort right away. So we run a 6-to-1 model. Each person is on an individualized program. And we do have tablets in the facility. We actually hacked some Google Fire tablets. So clients can use those tablets if they need to. Some clients will bring in an iPad because they like a bigger screen to look at. And then the vast majority of our clients will just use their smartphone. Okay. So they open the app on their smartphone and their workout is right there, ready to rock and roll. Because the thing is, in a 6-to-1 model or even a 4-to-1 model, you can't be with every person every step of the way. So we can't be explaining to each person exactly what they need to be doing. That's where the client being able to read and see their program, right? They take some ownership over their program and they're able to just rock and roll. So the question I get a lot is, what about that brand new client that just isn't really familiar with the facility? And this was a problem that we ran into early on. So how we chose to solve this problem was we do one-to-one sessions for the first session, if not the first 2 sessions with any brand new client. So we find an hour that works, that makes sense. Sometimes it's with a different coach, but we find an hour where we can take that client nice and slow through their program, and really in that first session we have it mapped out where this is what we want them to accomplish or learn in that first session. And really we want to make sure we're up to speed on the tech and we're good with that. We want to get through their warm up, and then typically we want to get through a little core and power. And if they're picking it up, we might get through a round of strength. So we're not trying to like get it all done in the first day. And so their phase 0 is actually what we call it in our system, because it's not really a true phase. It's phase 0. It's actually 4 workouts, but they're all the same workout. And the goal is by that 4th workout, we're getting through full volume. And the reason we do it this way is so that the client doesn't have to try and learn something new each time they come in, brand new, right? Typically, we program like an A and a B type of strength workout or an ABC, right? 3 different workouts. But for the brand new person to the facility, that just became too overwhelming. I came in the first day and I was learning all this brand new stuff. And then I came in the second day and I was learning all this brand new stuff. So we just build on it. We have one workout repeated 4 times. So they come in, they do their warm up. And we don't really like to call it a warm up. Ramp, good term I stole from Alan Cosgrove, range of motion activation and movement prep, right? They come in there and do their ramp. Then they do a little core and power, depending on their abilities on that first session. If we get through that, that's a win. Second session, we do our ramp, we do our core and power, and then we do their first try set of strength. Probably 2 sets of that. Sweet. Session number 3, ramp, core and power, strength A, and then we get into strength B. And then the fourth one, ramp, core and power, strength A, strength B, and then a little energy system development. So they're completing an entire workout by the end of that 4th session, right? So we see a little bit of progressive overload. They don't get overly sore. It's a really good experience for the client because they're learning. And if the client really struggles with that first day and we decide that they need a little one-to-one, we will either do another one-to-one with that client or we'll move them into a session that's maybe a little less busy so that a coach can have a little bit more time with them. And then once they're feeling comfortable and ready to go, then we move them into our normal sessions. And so a lot of people say like, older people in technology, like I think it's all in our own heads, right? We can encourage people to use technology. We have people in their 70s and 80s using smartphones and using the app and understanding it and those kind of things. And so if we articulate to the client why this is important and how it actually helps them and helps improve their experience, they're going to be bought in. But if you're not convinced of it as a coach or as an owner, then it's going to be hard to convince your clients of it. And so we did have to convince a lot of our clients when we went through pen and paper into digital. And this was really the way we wanted to move forward. And people just got on board because like this was going to provide a better experience for them. Because the other cool thing about digitizing this programming standpoint is it then allows us to program for the clients outside of the facility, or the clients can write down things that they might be doing outside of the facility and give us that feedback. Right? Really, really simple. From the app, the client can hit the plus workout button. They can add that in, and then we can see the whole client journey right from our coach account. Right. So now, once they get through those kind of first 4 intro sessions that we call phase 0, then they move into phase 1. And now they're into normal training times and normal training hours. So let's say in that hour, we have 6 people in that hour. Like, how do we manage it? Right. So each client has their workout on their smartphone or on a tablet, and they're familiar with it. So they're able to rock and roll. We have videos for 99% of our exercises. So if a coach is working with someone else, the client can just pop open the video and then watch it quick and then get back to doing what they're doing. Okay, so super, super simple and easy for them to be able to do that. Now, one thing that I highly suggest is when you create your videos for stuff like this, don't have any talking in them, especially if you're running a brick and mortar. We've created a lot of videos where we did a lot of explaining, right? Where we were trying to teach the exercise. And while that's great, and I think that's better for online or virtual coaching than it is for offline stuff, most clients just needed a quick reminder of what they needed to do. Oh, that's the position I need to be in. And if we spend the first 30 seconds talking, we don't get to the point quick enough. And so what I like to do is just have a quick 5-second demo. That's all longer. The video needs to be really quick. Because the other thing is a lot of people are going to have their sound on. And so if you have multiple people watching videos in the same room, it can just get kind of loud and annoying. So we create no sound videos, quick 5 seconds. Here's the video. Then, if you do want a little bit of an explanation, or maybe you're an online coach and that's your focus, you may want to then have an explanation after the quick 5 seconds. So you demonstrate it without any sound, and then you have 1 or 2 minutes where you're maybe walking through setup or you're walking through everything, and it just makes it a little bit more of a learning environment. Okay, so that is possible, but do the 5 seconds first and then do the talking second. Trust me, you'll thank me later. So that's how we run it. Each client is looking at their stuff. Our clients too, they don't all start like directly on the hour. Someone might be a little late, someone might be a little early, and they're ready to get rocking and rolling. And because we have this all built out for them in advance, they're able to do that. We don't need every weekend. We don't have to start the session on the hour. Ideally, we like everyone as close together as possible, but it doesn't have to be that way. So it allows us some flexibility in our coaching. Now, how does a coach know what everyone is doing? Right. Well, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'll show you how we set it up. So, I don't think I have one in my office here, but we have a little rolly table we got off Amazon. The top of it is about like this. Okay. And then we use laptops. So our coaches each have their own laptop. They'll put their laptop on the table, and then they'll pull up the client accounts. And I'll show you here in a second. You could use a tablet, bigger screen though. Think like iPad Pro. I don't have one laying around here, but think bigger screen. If you're doing one-to-one, you can run it off your phone, but I don't suggest it. If you're in our setting, we don't very rarely do one-to-ones. And so we don't use our phone. But if you are a one-to-one coach and you are doing one-to-one training, you could operate off your phone. I'm not a huge fan of operating off a phone, mainly because of the perception, right? If I'm in a training session with you and I'm on my phone, and even though I might be looking at the workout and doing that kind of stuff and recording things, when I'm like this, right, it feels like I'm texting or scrolling or doing something like that. That's just our association with this device, right? And so that's why I like an iPad. It's a little bit bigger. It's almost kind of like a clipboard, right? And it feels a little bit more like quote unquote professional. And then you can record things. So if you are doing one-to-one, you can just you can use the actual Coach Catalyst app, then use the Coach Catalyst app, find the client, open it up, hit start workout, and then you can be recording things for that client. But for us, we don't have that capacity. Our goal is to teach the clients how to record things, so that the coach isn't responsible for doing that, because that's really not their job. Their job is not to be a recorder in the session. Their job is to coach in the session. And if they're trying to remember what people did and put all that into the system, that's where all their time is going to be spent. And I don't think that's the highest return on that coach's value. That we want that coach coaching, helping, critiquing, improving, those kind of things, right? So I'll share my screen here, and we'll just kind of walk through a little bit about what it would look like. All right, so this is a test account. So you'll see all my superhero names here. And inside of this test account, right, let's pull up a couple clients. I didn't set up any workouts in advance, but let's say Al's in the session, and Britt's in the session, and Bruce is in the session. Okay, so we pull them up on top as different tabs. So you'll see their names right across here in those different tabs. And you'll notice I just right click and then open in link in new tab, and that pulls open these tabs. I don't know if you can actually see this with the screen sharing, because I am sharing a specific screen. So just know that there's tabs across the top here that that would be with each client. Actually, let me do this. Let me stop sharing and let's see if I can just share my whole screen here. Let me find. We got to come back to Riverside, and I'm going to share my whole screen here, and that way you can kind of see some of this tab stuff. Okay, there we go. All right. So you're going to see the tabs here across the top. Now you'll see the tabs here across the top. Okay. So we got Al, we've got Britt, and we've got Bruce. Okay. Now let's just make sure they all have. Let's just grab some workouts, and we'll put them on these accounts, even though these aren't going to be great workouts. But you guys will get the picture with what we're trying to do here. So, okay. All right, and then Bruce, let's add one in for him as well. Okay. All right. So we've got workouts on each of their accounts. Now, as a coach, if I need to make any changes to the workout, right, I can click in here, but we'll then click mobile preview. Okay, for each client. Now I come in here, click mobile preview, and then come in here, click mobile preview. Now, what that means with mobile preview is I can see the history, right, for this exercise. And so I can give that client a little bit, hey, here's what we did last time. What do you think about this time, right? Last time on the squat, we went 135, 185, 225, and you indicated 225 was kind of an RPE of 8. So that's where I want our work sets today. So I want you to get 2 good work sets at 225 today. And Like, I wouldn't be able to remember that because I haven't seen this client for a week, but I just look at the history here. And we keep notes with our history. We keep notes of loads and time and distance and all that fun stuff. But then we also put some kind of call it RPE or some extra notes after it to give us a little bit more insight into how that felt and how we want to progress. I use the little carrot top thing with clients a lot. Like if that felt really easy, do this little carrot top thing. And then that tells us next time we want to go up in load. One thing that I like to do with clients that I think works really well too is in about week 3 and week 4 of their cycle, I like them to do as many reps as possible on the last set with the same load they finished with last week. Okay, so we follow a similar rep scheme to the previous, or follow a similar load scheme to the week before, but on the last one we do as many as possible. So what happens with a lot of new clients is they don't really understand what kind of quote unquote failure looks like, and we are selective in the types of exercises that we do this with. Right, like we won't do this with squats or big exercises. We'll do it with things like push-ups, rows, things that are really safe, inherently safe, right? Self-limiting type of exercises. And then many times they'll get 5, sometimes even 10 more than what was prescribed. Cool. That's awesome. Like, great job pushing yourself on that one. Now we know because we'll put the load times the reps in that last set and I can see it. Then the next time we can more appropriately for weeks 5 and 6 get the load right. Because we want the load to be within probably a reps in reserve, an RIR of like 2. That's really our goal with most of our clients. So our clients will be up here. We'll have the workouts up for the coach, and then they can just click quickly between these 3. Let the client know where they're moving next, what they're working on, be able to click on anything, see the history, and really be able to effectively orchestrate a good session, right? Because that's part of a coach's role in a session, especially with 4, 5, 6 people, is to kind of make sure everyone's in the right place and everyone's moving through effectively. And then our facility is actually set up in a way where we have stations where pretty much everything a client needs is at a station. It's going to be a rack, a bar, a dumbbell set, bands, a suspension trainer, are going to be at a station. So they kind of have their home base to be able to come back to each time. But for our coaches, they just have it open here. Now, if I do need to make some changes, hey, something happened, the client didn't record things well, I can always just come into the client here at the top, preview it as a client, and then I can come in and make any adjustments to what they wrote. I'll just come in here, start workout, and then I can just add in any performance pieces here that I need to for that particular exercise. So I have the ability to come in here and edit it on the fly if I need to as a coach. And then if the client does have an issue or they come in, hey, my shoulder's really beat up, they're coming into the vault and we're adding to those notes. That's like our continuous note database with those clients. So we're continually adding to that because if any other coach steps in, they need to be able to know up to date what's going on with that client so that we can effectively have a great session with that particular client. Okay. So that's how we run it in those sessions. So I got to make sure I don't press the right stop button. Perfect. All right. Last time when I pressed stop, I actually stopped the whole episode, which is why I got cut a little short. This time we got it right. So the coach then can make any little notes that they need to, record anything in the vault if we need to, and then all that data is there and the client's gone. Right. So that's how we set it up. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It allows us to create an individualized experience we go up to 6 people. If someone is new to this type of format, start with 3, then move to 4, and then move to 5, and then move to 6. You need to be comfortable with multiple people in a session. And then we also have to have enough equipment to be able to accommodate that many people. We have people share stuff like cable machines, that kind of stuff. It's great. But you just need to have enough so people aren't necessarily just standing around waiting for equipment. But that also, if you do have people at different phases, at different parts of your programming, they're going to be using different equipment as well. People that are brand new are going to be very body weight oriented or typically using assistance. And then people that are a little bit more advanced will start getting into kettlebells and dumbbells and all of those kind of fun implements. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If you do run a brick and mortar small group personal training is by far the most efficient model for training from both a revenue standpoint for you as a facility, and also offering a price point that people can commit to for the long term. So if you do have questions, you can always ask them inside of the Facebook group, in the video, in YouTube. Just make sure you mention me. That gives me an alert to come in and put it there. And then remember, we always put the links to these videos out in emails, so you can always respond to one of those emails if you do have a question. That's another great place to get it in our inbox so that we can get you the help that you need. So hopefully this was helpful. My name is Trevor, and we'll see you next week. Later.